Outer Orange.
Welcome back, Privyet, welcome back to the video. So if you have seen these, I've done a V1 recently, now I'm doing a D1. This is every single ride line that's basically set 11 and below. So we're gonna be kind of doing it at 50-50. I'm gonna first show you guys all the set 10 stuff, since BCS is still gonna be happening with some set 10 stuff. And then I'm gonna show you guys the set 11 stuff at the end to kind of just go through it all. But first, let's get rid of all the stuff that's not relevant to us, or is just like very obviously gonna be in like a pretty bad spot. So let me go ahead and do that first. All right, so here we have, we're going to start the Overdress tier list. Again, this is a competitive tier list, so don't get too heartbroken or too upset if something that you like is not on here. I also want to make it clear that there are decks that are capable of topping, even if they are lower on the scale, mainly because I feel like D right now is a little bit more just trigger sacky. I hate to put it that way, but I think it is. I'm a little biased right now. I think a lot of decks can just kind of randomly top if they're just get luckier than others. That's just how I feel currently, but maybe it's just personal opinions. We're gonna go ahead and get started. We're starting with Bov. Bov is easily just honestly C tier right now. Nirvana is D tier. Overlord is going to be up here, probably in the B-ish, A-ish slot. We're probably gonna move it a little bit around. It might be closer to B right now, but it's actually not a terrible pick. And I actually do have to make this smaller. It's actually ridiculous, but I actually don't have room. Another version of Nirvana that's just not very good right now. I think Shojidochi is like C tier-ish. The Snake is like C tier-ish as well. Gandiva definitely in the A tier slot, but I don't think it's the best deck. But these are some set 11 stuff. We're gonna do the set 11 stuff at the end, so we're gonna skip over these. I don't know what this is. Is this green? What the hell is that? I don't even know what that is. Bruce, C. Wow, Bearman is definitely C tier. Other Bruce probably C tier. Some might argue these are like a B tier decks. I think they're kind of like a little right now. I just think the meta is a little bit too transparent in terms of what's good and what's bad. Beggar Groudon's kind of eh. Jojo can pop off pretty crazily. This guy is like probably C, maybe a little bit higher. Silverthorn definitely on the C side. It's not very strong. Jet's A right now. Jet's like low A. It's kind of slowly starting to get power creep just by a smidge. A lot of it is not even the power creepness. It's just popularity too. People are just starting to drop the deck more, so less people are out playing it, so there isn't as much about it. This is that weird Soul Blast guy, definitely probably in the D area. This is the other Bruce. It's kind of okay. I'd say it's just decent, so it's probably C. I think Unica falls into the C tier as well, just needs a little bit more. This is a weird deck, doesn't really do too much. There's this other Unica, I think she falls in the similar spot. New Greedon, this is New Greedon. We'll look at New Greedon in a bit. Jejuled Mask kind of falls in the same category as the other Mask. Where the other one, they're both basically the same deck, so we're just gonna throw them in there. Hexa Orb. If this is regular Hexa Orb, it's bad, but if it's the other Hexa Orb, which is right here, then it's gonna be A tier as well. Next we have Minerva, definitely A tier deck, especially with the promo and 7-11 in mind. We'll talk about this deck in a little bit. This deck will be a double talk. So currently it's okay. The promo is like half the package, and then once we get 7-11, it'll be even better. So we'll just kind of throw it in there. Bastion, definitely on the C side. PBO is actually a rogue pick. I think it's actually pretty good, but it's very roguey. I think Youthberg is pretty decent as well. Not the best. Fefneo is kind of meh. Nvidia is definitely, I think, like low C right now. It's just not very good. Orphis, I think, is like, Orphis, we don't have a lot of B decks. Orphis kind of B-ish. That is like pretty okay, but sadly still at C. And then Velstra, I think, fell into like the B/C category right now. Archive's definitely C. Sorry, Archive, you're just not very good. Afghandia, once it gets the promo, will be better, so this will probably go up. I think right now it's like stuck in C. And then Magnolia is definitely a C tier deck. Just keep in mind, we also have less decks to pick from, so some of these decks will also be more popular just because there's less decks to pick. Like, we're missing on all of this stuff right down here, you know, so all these decks could be viable, but we don't have them. So anyway, Flagberg is B. I thought it was a little bit higher, but I think B is actually the perfect spot for it right now. It's very strong, and it's also very weak. Red Zorga on its own is kind of meh. Maelstrom is definitely on the C side right now. It's just not very good. Elder is a little bit better than regular Magnolia. I would say it's still kind of weak. This is the Wolf Guy. Wolf Guy is kind of just right there. Regular Leonorn is definitely in the C tier. Mask Zorga is probably B, closer to A. Mask Zorga is good. I still think it's just like, I still think it's like a high roll deck, and into the S tier deck that just loses. Unless they just hire like crazy and just hit all their dragons and kind of have early pressure with the tokens. I think it's kind of whatever. Leonorn Mask actually has like a random pop-off turn where it just kills you. It's actually not as terrible as I thought it was, but I still think it's like kind of like in the C range. And then we have, what else do we have? This is like a random, this guy's not very good. Sorry, dude. He's cool, just not very strong. Kyrie is definitely more in the C range right now, I would say. For Herminia falls into this category. For Tia falls under this category. Regular Kyrie, grade 4 falls in this category. Michu's under here. Olivia is definitely D. Leticia is probably high B. low A, I would say. The deck's actually really good. People know, just no one's playing it. It still just has like random high roll conditions where Wind, Hazelet, or whatever his name is, definitely there. Medell definitely falls in this category, though Medell can randomly kind of like sack you out of the game just because like it plays like an OTT deck. Yoko's not too bad, but definitely more in the C area. Clarissa is definitely C, just not very strong. This is new Clarissa. Petrolka is probably decent, but nothing too crazy. Outsteel is probably in this category too, probably better than Petrolka. I think Outsteel is good, just not, you know, anything that crazy. I would say Glonero is definitely higher on the rank. It's probably more closer to like A with like a Leticia. And then we have Volista. Volista is definitely one of the best decks in the format, if not the best deck in the format right now. We'll talk about it a little bit more as we get further through these. And then Felty. Felty is definitely like somewhere down here. She's just not very good. And then we have Shieldfisher. Sorry, Shieldfisher. You're just yeah, you're just I wish you were better because you're kind of cool, but yeah. Oh, we've got Messiah and Heroes. So Heroes is definitely like on the C range, and then Messiah is probably in the B category, but it actually has some results. It might even be touching low A here, probably like this, but I think that's like a representation of that. We miss anything else before we go into set 11? Oh, Prison. Prison is a rogue pick. Prison is a rogue pick right now. Prison is good because it kills Volista, but it's pretty not so good as the rest of these decks. So this is a rogue pick right now. So if you want to go rogue, this is what you play. Play Prison, because yeah, if you think you're just gonna see all Volistas, you're gonna have a great time. And then next, I think that's it for that. We have these the Dragon Tree deck. I'm not gonna lie, I'm just gonna throw all these in here. I'm not even gonna bother with these. I don't. If there's something cooking, sure, please cook away. But otherwise, I don't think these are. I'm just gonna throw all of these in there. I don't know what these are. I don't know what they represent. I don't know what's going on with them. I'm just ignoring all these. This is preset set 11. So this is what preset 11 looks like. I would say you could probably move some of these around. Like I think overall is kind of like more here. Minerva's probably more here. Hexor's probably here more. And then the double Jewel, they're kind of the same deck, to be honest. Hexor is probably like this because it's a little bit more consistent. I think Youth can probably go up a little bit, kind of like that. Maybe do it like that more so. I would say this is more accurate. Some probably are gonna put Zorga here, so I'm just gonna throw them at the end. I don't think Zorga is as good as these decks are, to be honest with you, but it high rolls better to these. It just kind of loses to these two right here. I kind of like flew through these. There's just so many decks. I can't like have like I'll talk deeply about like S and A, but I'm not gonna lie, B and on. It's just like most of these decks have been around. This is definitely the best deck in the format in terms of like set 10, and then into set 11 this will actually continue to be the case. And then Gandiva, even though it's like an annoying pick and people are, I'm with the people on this one. People are like, oh, it's really not that good. It really isn't, but it's just kind of consistent, and the crit's just annoying. And D being D, like if you just hit some triggers, like this deck just becomes really annoying and hard to deal with. They go first, they get the crit, and then suddenly they hit 2 more crits on top of that with their drive check, and boom, you're out of the game. And it has nothing to do with the deck being good or not. It's just the crit pressure, you know. The crit pressure sometimes just gets you out of the game, just like Gravidia used to. So it's just kind of how the deck is. And because of that, it's really hard to put it lower, even though the deck itself doesn't do anything that amazing. So this is how it is. Minerva's pretty good, but Minerva really needs that set 11 stuff. And I think once it gets there, I think right now it's probably more like here. And then now when we go into set 11, it'll probably be more like this. So I think right now it's probably more like this, but it's still a good deck. I think the promo is like half of it. And the other thing is most people aren't really gonna be playing this deck as much because you need the promo, and the promo is like $100 a copy almost, so, or 60 or something like that. I don't know, but it's pretty high in price. So most people are probably not gonna pick this deck up just because of the price. I'm just gonna jump on decks like these instead because they're a little bit cheaper. This one isn't that cheaper, but some of the other decks in here are cheaper to pick up and play. So people are probably gonna be jumping on those decks before they go into this, unless they have a big Minerva stand, which there are Minerva stands. Also, some people just don't even have access to these promos, so they can't even play these. So it's very unfortunate that we're kind of seeing it like this. But I think this is a pretty good representation. A lot of these decks up here basically are like gonna top. Basically, they're gonna either at least have one result for sure, and probably more. This will probably have the most results. This will have the second most results, and everything after this will just kind of follow along with it. And some of these decks on here have some potential chance. It's just so much less by like a good margin. You have to get a little bit luckier, and you have to just rely on luck more to kind of get through. I did see Philip kind of go crazy with the bat, and he was actually performing pretty well, so maybe there's something spicy with the bat and some of the new orders. I'm not 100% sure on this one, but hey, he was having a great time, and he was winning some, so Man was winning. Chad boy was winning. So who knows? Maybe there's something special over there. I actually really like the Bat deck, so I'm really excited to see what kind of spice there is there. I still haven't talked to him. I got to talk to about that. But anyway, some of these down here are not like terrible. They're just less consistent, more bricky, kind of struggle a bit more. Kind of need a little bit an extra push to kind of cut through. So like I said, we've seen results on some of these decks. So it's not like they're terrible or anything like that. They're just not it. The D decks, I think you should just not touch at all. It's like, don't touch it. Just don't do it. I don't know. I think if you're going to touch any of these decks, you might as well touch the decks above it. Like, you just have a way higher chance of succeeding with better decks in higher categories. If you just want to play because you want to have fun, sure. I always say this because I just feel like I need to emphasize it. But if you really want to win, you should just not touch the D category. I don't think anything in here is worth touching. There might be some kind of random spice that I don't know, maybe I just don't know about. But as far as I'm aware, these decks are just not it. Just stick to the good stuff. There's literally other versions of similar decks to these that are just doing better. Like, it's kind of like you could play Leafia or just play, you know, Elasteel or Pachoka, which also has great thieves and all this other random stuff in it, right? Or, you know, you could play Eugene, but say Eugene just play Gandiva, which is like literally just better Eugene, you know? So just better options. See what set 10 going into set 11 is looking like. Let's look at set 11. So we're adding Vermilion in here. Vermilion is kind of dookie. We're just gonna throw him in there. Tamayura is actually pretty good. I think she's like in kind of like a B tier category, like kind of touching A almost. I think she's like here. She's actually been getting results like quite a lot in Japan, so she's definitely not bad. We're also getting some new promos coming along with this, including the Magnolia promo, and then also the Prism promos coming out, which I think will bump this deck up a little bit. But going in, I still don't know what this is. Sorry guys, I just don't know what it is. Now, Greenon's apparently good. I believe that Greenon does have a chance. It kind of bumps it up a little bit. We're also getting the new trial decks. Orpheus is going to actually bump up a little bit after this. It's probably going to be a little bit better to play because it's going to get a new card that's going to make it stronger. So we'll probably start seeing more Orpheus players come out. Greenon, I think, has a shot at being pretty decent. So we're going to throw it up there too. It's not terrible. It's kind of similar to what it was, but just has slightly more edge to it now. Chaos, I actually think, is really strong. I could be coping here, but I actually think it's an A tier deck. I actually think it performs really well. It does a lot. It's extremely hard to play and requires a really good deck builder on it to build this deck correctly. I am not the person for that. I have just been like watching other people do their thing, and I just see why people want to take it and why it's been performing in Japan. It actually has some pretty neat stuff about it. The only issue I have with the deck is that it can deck out, and it can deck out fast. And we're playing a format where deck out is like a win con sometimes, like an actual win con, because too much healing happens. So weirdly enough, that's like my only thing I like about Chaos, is the fact that if you get into deck out range, this is like the fastest deck to deck out. But I think this deck has a lot of potential. So I'm gonna throw it in A tier. It might be a cope pick, might be the cope pick of the week for me. Oh, I forgot about MLB. MLB is a rogue pick, but it's actually a good rogue pick. I think MLB is actually insanely, I actually think it's really good. Like, I actually think it's better than PPO right now in some cases. Like, I'll leave PPO where it is because I think PPO is a little bit faster in some cases, but MLB is actually, those numbers go crazy. If you really play optimally, MLB goes kind of wild, especially since it has Retire and it doesn't care about Gandiva or Ballista at all. The deck is insane. The only downside to the deck is that it's only 4 attacks, and if you miss Persona, it's like really feels bad. But otherwise, the deck's actually kind of solid. I think is kind of poor right now. I think it's more in the CT range. I think it's that great. Ezel is definitely not that good. I had like some arguments with some people that are like, oh my god, Ezel is broken because you have Superior Ride, and it's like, yeah, well, where are the results? Because this deck is doing nothing. It's in Vermilion territory practically. Vermilion's worse, but you know, it's in that territory. We got Ava. Pure Ava, I think, is still decent. It's probably B tier decent. It's definitely fallen off, especially with C tier in mind. And then with the set 11 Ava, I think it's about the same. This deck can perform still. It just takes so much more effort to try and perform. It just takes more to get there. So I definitely think it's kind of like just on the lower end. You can still, you know, take it, still win, all that stuff. Don't get me wrong. Whichever variant you try to build for, I think both are fine in their own ways, whatever you decide to go for. If you want the mini package, or if you want to fully commit to Poison, Ava, whatever you choose to do, I think both have their own ups and downs. So definitely not bad. Is it great? And no, but I mean, you have other options too. So if you're a big Ava stan, I mean, I would still consider taking it if you just don't want to play anything else. I still think you have a shot. I think this Astro guy is like very whatever. Some people might disagree with me. I think it's very whatever, but you know, alas, it does have a Brain Gate OT in it, but I think it's just kind of meh. That's just personal taste. I've been reading kind of trying to keep up with it. It's kind of whatever. Token Girl, I think, has hope, but I think it needs the right deck builder or something needs to happen for her. I think she's kind of just up here in C tier, just kind of chilling, doing her thing. She might be like low-key B, but not there. I think Varroa is actually B. I think Varroa actually can perform. It's just, again, it's one of those decks where you need to like kind of get a little bit lucky. I think Mystic is definitely like in C tier range. If you run Maple and a bunch of other stuff, you can like randomly force your opponent to discard, but it needs a board. And because it needs a board, this deck just kind of falls off, unfortunately. A lot of decks are kind of gatekeeped behind Gandiva right now. Gandiva's just gatekeeping a lot of decks. It's not even so much that Gandiva's that good, it's just gatekeeping a lot of decks because a lot of decks will want the board state and they just can't keep it because Gandiva exists. And so decks like this just kind of sadly fall off like really fast. That's actually another reason why some of these lyrical decks are down here. Part of why they're down here is literally because Gandiva exists. Gandiva forces these decks to stay down here. They just really rely on having rear guards, and none of these decks can handle rear guard pressure at all. Or rear guard retire pressure at all. Retire pressure just hurts a lot of these decks, so that's part of the reason why some of these are down here. Yeah, so that's just how it is. This is part of the reason why this deck is up here, is because of that retire pressure that a lot of decks just can't handle, which is the reason why her video was really good for the longest time. Was also that retire. The retire just hurts. But yeah, I think this is about what set 11 is going to look like. You'll notice it hasn't changed at all. The only difference is that since set 11 is dropped, Minerva will get its cool yummy toy. Like, I think actually it would be even something like this, probably. Kind of just depends. I think depends on the good day. I think these decks are very interchangeable. But yeah, so this deck moves up, but you'll notice a lot of this stuff hasn't changed. Now, I will say one thing, because English side has less decks, I have a very high thought. Like, I really believe that some of the set 11 stuff will have more results. And the reason it's gonna have more results is because we don't have Token Rambu, we don't have Monster Strike, we don't have like any of these collab sets that are actually performing well. So because of that, people are just gonna be on other decks. They're either gonna be on Ballista, Gandiva, Minerva, or they're gonna be on some of these other decks. And also, since this is new stuff dropping, people are gonna want to try it, people are gonna want to test with it. Another thing is when Prison gets its promo, I actually think this deck's gonna go up. I don't remember exactly when we're getting this promo, so I'm keeping her here. But if we do get the promo, I actually think Prison goes right here. But that's with the promo in mind. So if with the promo in mind, I think it goes up. The deck actually gets a lot better. So it's already pretty decent to Ballista, but it'll get better as a deck itself. So we'll see how that works. But otherwise, I do see a future. I could be wrong, but I do see a future where some of these set 11 bosses, like these right here, will just have more results just because of the fact that there's less decks to pick from. So we'll have to see. Our meta is a little different. Our promos are at different time frames, which is another thing I forgot to bring up, which is Avagandia. Avagandia will go up to B tier with the promo in mind. So actually Avagandia will go up after, like, once it gets this promo, which is pretty soon. We're also getting the Mystic promo, which also will make Zorga better. Just so Zorga will probably stay where it's at, but it will just be better as a deck. So we'll just have a better time into the decks above it. So that's another thing to kind of keep in mind. I think that's about everything. I don't think there's anything else, but overall, I think this is a pretty decent representation. I will say I don't think it's perfect, just because Japan's meta is a little different from ours. So because their meta is different from ours, we actually might see other decks start rising because of it. But it's also possible we might just see just a ton of Ballista, Gandiva, Minerva, something else maybe, and it just might stay like that. But I actually think that there's hope for our meta to have a little bit more diversity than Japan has, because Japan's just so focused on Token Rambu, because Token Rambu is just really good. Let's see, I'm really excited for set 11. I can't wait to see how everything will shift. This is what I think the meta is going to look like. Like I said, take it with a grain of salt. It's not, I obviously haven't tested every single piece of every single deck. Sometimes I just ask other people what they believe is good. I don't have like, I think anything in S, A, and B I'm very familiar with, and anything in C and on probably is a little bit more like shaky territory. I've either faced the decks, or I played into them, or I tested into them, and I just didn't really find that good. But some of the decks I haven't played, I just played against it basically. So but because there's no way I can test into every single D deck that exists. Like, look at this freaking list. It's huge. There's like 100 Rhine lines in here. Like, it's just not possible. So that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope this helps you in your deciding factors. Keep in mind, not everything in here is set in stone. It is still D format. Sometimes you can just take Lone Roll and just go all the way because the guard restrict just goes that hard. And we did see Lone Roll perform recently, and it'll probably still keep performing. So you just never know. Take what you feel comfortable with. Take what you think is best. But just note that there's the reason why we have an S and an A tier. That's all. But anyway, guys, peace out. Success with Daniel. See you guys in future videos. Do not forget to shop at the cards. Shop code orange for all that good stuff. So yeah, bye.